Good morning, everyone. This is Tim and Julie Harris, and this is the Harris Real Estate University Superstar Interview. So, what is the Harris Real Estate University Superstar Interview? It's one of three things. First of all, sometimes Julie and I interview a famous author. We interview somebody who we feel has written something recently. It might just be a blogger that will have and should have a positive influence on your real estate career. In the past, we've interviewed a lot of economists who've written books. We've interviewed, frankly, a lot of people that have had maybe opinions that we wouldn't necessarily agree with right away, but it turns out a lot of the thoughts that they had were very impactful on your business, famous entrepreneurs, things of that nature. Other Fridays, what Julie and I do is we interview top-producing realtors, top-producing agents who are Harris Real Estate University students. We've interviewed the top, I can rattle off the list, but a lot of you guys know pretty much all the top agents of all the top real estate brands in the nation now are Harris Real Estate University students. We have the top Keller Williams student, or top Keller Williams agent, number one agent in Ohio, number one agent in Florida, number one agent in Virginia. Number one, I think of the top 10 agents in California, we've got half of them are students. You get the idea. Pretty much all the top producers are enrolled or have been enrolled in the past at Harris Real Estate University for a reason, and I think the reason is because we are focused on providing you guys cutting-edge information, really getting you not just focused on what's ahead, but really where your opportunities lie for today. So that is what we're doing on today's call. Julie and I are actually going to take the time today, and it's the third option that we do on these superstar interviews, and Julie and I present information to you that we know will be very impactful. Now, before I get to the topic of today's call, I want to let you know that the superstar or the short sale program, the doors are still open for those of you who are interested in joining. You can click that button that's right there on the webinar, and you can listen to yesterday's call, and you can enroll. I've opened it up for 5 more spots, and that's it. And I know I just checked prior to this call. They have not been taken yet. They probably will by the end of this call. Or you can call 866-422-9497. So past superstar interviews are available to you anytime, whether you're an enrolled student or not, by going to realestateinsidernews.com. Again, our focus of these Friday superstar interviews is giving back to the real estate community, really intensely going in on some subjects that we know will be very impactful in your career. And here's the other thing that's cool about superstar interviews is nothing is taboo, nothing is off limits, and there are no sacred cows. How about that for a bunch of stuff really quick? In other words, we give ourselves permission and give you permission to talk about all the subjects that some other people try to avoid. And sometimes those subjects are the very subjects that a lot of people try to avoid because they make you uncomfortable. And I think today's topic is frankly one of those subjects. What we're going to be talking about today is something that frankly makes a lot of people uncomfortable. It makes a lot of people, frankly, if that's not enough franklies for you in a short period of time, it makes a lot of people, frankly, there's another one, feel uptight because it forces them to be introspective, meaning it forces them to look in on themselves and question their own behavior. That's not something that a lot of people like to do. So if you want the notes for today's superstar interview, they're on the blog, realestateinsidernews.com. The top post, you'll see it there, and all the notes, the outline of what we're going to be presenting to you today is right there on the blog, and please feel free, as I know a lot of you do, to share it with other agents and share this information with your office if you're an office manager. And I'm going to welcome a special welcome to those of you who are in real estate brokerages right now. I've just received an email that several of you are using our superstar interviews as your weekly office training. So for all of you who are listening on group calls and on conference calls and on speakerphones, well, welcome to the Harris Real Estate University Superstar Interview. Remember, guys, the webinar screen is open, and it is available for you to ask questions. So if you're on the web, go ahead and enter in your questions, and those will be the questions that I use today, frankly, when I'm addressing the subject that Julie and I have prepared. So, Jules, what is the subject for today?
The subject is, are you guys all ready? Hopefully you're taking notes. The subject is daily minimum standards. And when we're talking about daily minimum standards, we're going to present to you what are the daily minimum standards of superstars, of Harris Real Estate University superstars, people who we all look up to. Why? Because they are meeting or exceeding their goals. And we just always like to take a second to define what is a superstar at Harris Real Estate University, Tim. And, I think for you and I, it's someone who is doing just that, meeting or exceeding their goals, whatever those goals are for them. We're not here to say, hey, you know what, if you're not doing 100 deals a year, then you're just, I'm not even going to talk to you. It's whatever your personal goals that you have thought about and are important to you Are you meeting or exceeding them? Does that make sense, Tim?
Well, so what she's talking about is in a lot of other real estate circles, you're basically dog meat unless you're selling 100 houses a year. Because remember, I said...
Or more, whatever their number is.
Exactly, but it's typically 100. So a lot of agents, they'll come to us at Harris Real Estate University, and they're doing quite well, and they want to be maybe in our graduate coaching program where they are coached personally by Julie or myself. And one of the things I almost always hear, and I can always tell what their previous coaching experiences have been, when they always come and they say, I want to sell 100 houses a year, right? And I ask them, well, why is it that you want to sell 100 houses a year? Julie asks, the same question. And there's never an answer, right? They don't have any clue why they want to sell 100 houses a year, but they've been treating themselves poorly. They've been putting pressure on themselves forever, and they've always seen themselves as a failure because they've never sold 100 houses per year. But guys, daily minimum standards is not just about these big numbers so you can run around with like a peacock and say, I sold this and I did that. What daily minimum standards is it's built around your specific goals. So let's say, for example, that same agent comes to us and says they want to sell 100 houses a year. And listen, we've got plenty of students that sell 500, 600 houses a year. But if that goal of selling that number of homes is essentially created around another goal, say a goal of buying enough investment properties, paying them off so you could essentially be independently wealthy, well, then now that goal makes sense. So back to that, for example, of that student that's saying they want to sell 100 houses a year, you ask them why, and they say they don't really know, basically ego. But if you ask that same student why, and they explain to you, well, this is my plan, I'm planning on buying this many properties, paying off this many properties, well, you better believe that they're going to accomplish that goal. So that's what we're going to expose you to, that level of thinking on this call, how you can have that level of intensity.
You got it. So before we get to point number one, I want everyone to write something down, and that is to recognize the power of momentum. You guys have all felt it before, and I want you to think for a second the last time you were in momentum, what it felt like to you. You probably were doing, deal after deal for some of you. For some of you, it was just a month that went pretty much right for you. You had new lead follow-up to do. You had lots of referrals. Your prospecting and your marketing, whatever you were doing was paying off. You felt really good. You were helping tons of people. You were in momentum.
But, Julie, let's be honest. Some of them have not felt momentum in their real estate careers for years.
That's right. And some of them have decided that there is no more momentum in the market.
That's right. Well, okay.
Which is not true.
And so they have to go outside of real estate as your example. So maybe the last time you felt momentum, breaking it down and looking at it a different way. If you're just starting to run today, there's phases to it. And, Julie, what are those phases, please?
All right. So if you're writing down in your notes phases of momentum, okay, you've got to pass through all these. There's no skipping the stages. First, you have formulation. Formulation we're going to talk about a little bit today, where you're deciding what is important to you. You're actually thinking about that. Formulation is kind of putting together the plan. Then you have concentration, which is working the plan, and sometimes you got to stay in concentration for a fairly long time. But then you reach momentum, and after momentum is breakthrough. So you've got formulation, concentration, momentum, and breakthrough.
So let's use the example. I was about to use a running example, but I got a better example. Let's use the example of the agents that joined the ASD coaching program most recently, the short sale program, the lender-approved short sale program that we offer. So they joined the program yesterday. That is what phase, Julie? That's formulation, right?
Yes.
So they're at the stage of saying, well, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. I've enrolled in this program. I am motivated. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the potentiality of actually participating in this program. That is the first phase. It's called formulation. You formed your plan. Now, the next phase that comes after that, it's important you guys understand this because we're going to tell you where we see a lot of agents falling down, right? And we're also going to point out with the reason that there are superstars out there, and plenty of them, hundreds at Harris Real Estate University. And we're going to show you specifically what they do differently, but you have to understand the four phases first. So formulation is when you're forming your plan, deciding what it is you're going to do.
Yeah, you've decided to pursue more education. You have recognized that you're going to polish your short sale knowledge.
Maybe some of you were saying, well, you know what, this sounds good enough, I'm going to try it. It doesn't matter at what level of initial commitment you have.
You've made the decision.
Right, exactly. What matters what matters most, is what comes next, and that's concentration.
Yes.
Jules, what is concentration?
This is the hard part for some people. Concentration is actually doing the plan. And we're talking every day with intensity. Now, of course, you're going to have some days that are more intense than others, but the next stage, this concentration phase, this is where you're working on momentum. You're trying to get to momentum, but you've got to do the work, right? And this is the part that makes people uncomfortable.
Well, the problem with concentration is you don't get a reward. Oftentimes, that's the hard part, right? That's where
work sometimes pays off.
Yeah, work, no payoff. Work. Oh my God, why am I doing this? Work. This doesn't even make any sense. I could be out, playing Farmville on Facebook, right?
Right.
Work.
Lots of work, not necessarily immediate results.
Work. Nobody's acknowledging me. Work. Nobody's even saying I'm doing a good job. More work. And all my other realtors in my office are saying, why the heck are you wasting your time with that? Why don't you just go and do an open house? Right. You're constantly challenged internally, externally, as far as why you're on the right path. In the formulation stage, guys, that's just coming up with the idea. In the concentration stage, that's where you actually have to implement the idea. Mm-hmm. And listen, this is the key point here. When you have made a decision to do something, and frankly, Julie and I could grind on this point for the next 15 years, but when you've made a decision to do something, and you've gone past formulation, now you're in concentration. You have to stay in concentration until you actually accomplish your goal. What I would say, if of the agents that are unsuccessful, the people that are unsuccessful in life, they're unsuccessful because they're unwilling to put in the work at this phase. They're unwilling to stay in the concentration phase. They are looking for a quick hit. They're looking for quick results. They're looking for something that will basically make it so they don't have to put in as much concentration or much effort. You see that constantly. You're surrounded by people like that. Chances are you might be really good, for example, at staying in these at the concentration phase when it comes to running. You might be an Olympic athlete, but when it comes to staying in the concentration phase, when it comes to, say, for example, your finances, you're terrible at it. So just because you're not necessarily good at staying focused in one particular aspect of your life doesn't mean you're like that in other. You might have a great family life, but your business is terrible. You get the idea? The point of it, guys, is this is the point of the momentum process where most people fail.
Some agents spend their entire life coming and going in and out of concentration. These are the agents that say, I'm going to try a marketing campaign. I'm going to try calling expireds today. I'm going to try visiting the NOD list. And they do it for, maybe a day or two, and because they don't get instant gratification, then they tell themselves that, that just doesn't work.
Yeah, and you'll hear them talking sometimes online. Well, I tried calling expireds, for example, but it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, like 3 calls doesn't count, guys.
Yeah, and sometimes you guys call for coaching calls, free coaching calls, and the coaches tell us about the calls, and you'll say, well, I tried calling those asset managers if you're in an REO program. And I called all of them, and then the coach will say, well, how many did you call? I called all of them. Well, how many did you call? I called 3. I called 4.
Not 600.
Yeah, you realize there's 600 on our list, right?
Well, and then the other part of it is some of them really have made a lot of calls, but then we ask, what did you say? Well, part of concentration is honing your skills. If you call 10 people and what you say doesn't get you results, you got to be introspective and say, maybe I need to change my script. Maybe I need to get help. Maybe I need a free coaching call and a little bit of role play to polish what I'm doing. Think about other things in your lives that you are good at. Sometimes I'll even use the example of, when you were learning to read, right? You just didn't pick up a book and learn to read. You had to learn your ABCs first, right? Did you skip the middle part of the alphabet? Probably not.
Exactly.
So it took you probably a year to really be able to read, and you didn't even get paid to do that. You were a little kid.
Well, Julie, let's be honest. This is the biggest challenge that we have with these 4 phases of momentum. Are the agents that have been in the business since the bubble, that experienced the bubble.
Right.
And I'm going to this is the uncomfortable part, guys, so suck it up what I'm about to say. A lot of you guys who have been in the real estate business and sold through the bubble, you are profoundly lazy. Okay?
Right.
I know everyone hates being called lazy. I hate being called lazy, but that is a fact. And the agents who are brand new, they are more than willing to follow the steps exactly as we say, using the scripts, using the processes. They know that their path to success is the shortest path if they follow in the footsteps of others. A lot of you guys who've experienced success back in the bubble, you think it was because you were good. You think it's because you were slick. that you knew what to say, that you're a master salesperson, and you think somehow magically you could have, because you just, you went from one career that has nothing to do with real estate, and all of a sudden in 2004 you were selling homes, and in 2005 you tripled your income. Now you think that somehow you were a natural-born salespeople. The industry even probably told you were good. But guess what, guys? That market's gone, never to return. It rose all shifts. Even marginal agents looked good. Now if you don't have the skills and if you aren't willing to stay in the concentration phase and actually put in the effort, bottom line, you won't survive. You won't. All the rules have changed. Look at the top producers in your marketplace. They're not the same top producers for the most part that were in your marketplace back in the bubble, are they? They're different people with different mindsets. They're not looking for the glory. They're looking for the dollar. They're looking for how to make it so that they can stay in the, frankly, cash flow as long as possible and make the most out of what this market has to offer. They're thinking like business people. They're different. The industry's changed.
And they think that way every day.
That's
not
right.
Not just in fits and spurts, right?
All right. Now, the next phase, guys, is what you really want to be focusing on. And the next phase is called momentum. Jules, what's that?
So momentum is when your efforts do equal results. Momentum, and it's interesting when I talk to you guys and you're in this phase, you're always kind of surprised by that. Those are the free coaching calls that I get where you guys are saying, gosh, I've never had so many listings in my life before. I've never had so many closings. How do I deal with this volume? And it's almost like you're looking back kind of surprised at yourself. And when I ask you, how did you get there, it's always because you spent a lot of time in concentration. You were doing relentless lead follow-up. You were doing short sale seminars. You were following up on your past clients. You were calling expireds. You put in the time, and now you're seeing the results. You are in momentum. That's the exciting part when effort equals results, when you've got lots of appointments and when you are starting to meet or exceed your goals. Now, the challenge in momentum is staying there, and this is the quintessential challenge of all superstars and all agents, is when you're getting to that momentum stage, that's the tendency to just take care of what you've got in front of you. And the challenge there is making sure that you continue doing the things in concentration. So now you're kind of having to run concentration and momentum at the same time, and you have a danger of possible burnout. But agents that go through these phases, eventually they get into a nice groove, and usually that is when they discover how many listings they need at all times in order to keep in momentum.
Well, Julie, let me break it down here a little bit more, because what you're saying makes total sense. What she's describing is what a lot of you experience, and that's the reason that most realtors don't experience what's called cash flow. You experience cash spurts. And we're going to be talking more about that here in a second. But really the point is when you're in momentum, the key is to stay in momentum. Psychologically, you have to give yourself permission to be successful, not just occasionally, but be successful every day, week, month, year of your life.
Not a fluke.
It's not consistent. A fluke. You didn't do it on accident. You weren't lucky. Luck is basically opportunity meeting preparedness. And you were lucky in that you were working, you were prepared, and you took advantage of the opportunity in front of you. So do not stay, when you're in the momentum phase, the key is recognize that you're in momentum and stay in momentum by doing the things that it took to get you there in the first place. Not just going from having massive lead generation out of fear because you don't have enough going on, and then the following month or 90 days or 120 days later when you've got some stuff in contract, just focusing on getting stuff in contract. That ebb and flow will make you broke. And Julie, the big level, the next level, the level that absolutely positively every agent wants to be at is called
breakthrough. That's when you get it. You totally get it. You know what you have to do, and you're comfortable doing it. You know, this is when you have gotten over some of the things that hang you up in the beginning, like making calls, like closing people when you're in front of them. All of those skills are coming together for you, and you say, I get it. Put me in front of people. It's kind of like in my scripts class when people learn objections and they really know them. They're almost begging for a seller to throw them an objection. You know, they get it. And so this is your breakthrough when you've got the momentum behind you. You understand that concentration has to be running in the background all the time. This is where many of our graduate students are, where they are systematically automating all of the things that keep them in concentration. The key here is having things set up so that you have leads coming in even if you're on an appointment right now. And you know what's funny about this, Tim, is some of this is counterintuitive. Agents that do not have the listing inventory that they need to have momentum, you know, sometimes their subconscious will say, well, gosh, I don't know if I could handle 10 or 20 or 40 listings, however many they need. But in fact, when you get to that point, everything becomes easier, not harder.
Well, it's because
that's momentum, and that's the breakthrough.
Even if you can't imagine it now because you've never been there before, doesn't mean that you can't do it in the future. You just have to be willing to take the steps. You know, there's a great analogy that comes to mind. It's that of a jet taking off. Okay? So I'm going to describe a jet taking off. And, Julie, as I go from one phase to the next, I want you to remind them what phase of the 4 stages of momentum we're at, okay? All right, so you are a pilot. And it's your job basically to load the plane. It's your job to fly the plane. It's your job. You're the captain of the plane. Now, I want you to think about it in terms of like when you're piloting the plane. Okay, you're now deciding that you've got everyone's on the plane is full, the luggage is on, everyone's ready to go, everyone's strapped down, get ready for takeoff. Now, as you start running down the runway, okay, what does the pilot do? He uses a lot of energy to get off the runway. Full throttle, plane makes a lot of creaky noises. Plane gets off the air. He keeps that throttle down all the way, all the way.
Concentration.
That's right. Concentration is requiring the most effort. Going back to the initial phase, which was, Julie?
Formulation.
That's when he was deciding that I'm going to...
Look at the flight pattern. He's checking the plane. He's making sure everything's okay.
Right. So loading the plane was the formulation stage. Deciding that this plane, programming computer to fly to Phoenix or whatever, was the initial phase. The next phase, which again, Julie, phase 2 is?
Concentration.
That's when they're basically putting in the most effort. That's when the plane is putting in the most fuel. That is when the plane is taking off the ground. You can almost feel the tension because there's always a little nervousness as that thing's taking off the ground. So then once it's up in the air, what happens? The pilot can then throttle back. It doesn't require as much fuel when you're actually at altitude. Remember, think about when you're in a plane. It actually gets a little bit quieter, even if you're sitting right by the wings. Okay, then you throttle back, and that phase is?
Well, so then once you're
momentum.
up there, you're in momentum, right? And let me jump in here for a second. What happens if you're in concentration, you're on that flight, you're in takeoff, you're burning all that fuel, and the pilot just decides, this is kind of, this is hard. I don't know if this is working for me. Maybe they pull off the throttle. How comfortable would that be, right? And they decide, well, you know what, I'm just not into flying today. I'm going to take the plane back, land it, somebody else can take over this flight. That's how agents operate sometimes. They get uncomfortable in concentration because it's hard, it's intense. You've got to do it multiple days in a row, multiple months in a row. And so they let off the gas, and they have to end up right back in formulation, which is getting ready to get started to possibly someday look at a plan, and then reformulate and re-get into concentration. If pilots did that, we would all be in trouble.
Well, imagine a full plane. We're back in the runway in the full plane, and the pilot's going full throttle, no throttle, full throttle, no throttle.
Yeah, that's comfortable.
Can you imagine what that plane's going to go up in the air, it's going to go down the air, up in the air, down the air. That's what the ups and downs are what a lot of you experience in your real estate careers, your cash flows, and unfortunately in your lives because of this erratic nature in which you put forth effort. Okay, because you're forgetting the importance of the stages of momentum. So up and down, and what's at the end of every runway? A lake, a big bunch of trees, a wall.
There's the motivation the pilots have.
Exactly. So what happens is if you are like that pilot and you're not consistently putting the throttle down enough to clear the runway, enough to get up to altitude, and you're going full power, no power, full power, no power, eventually what's going to happen is that plane's going to crash. But here's what happens ultimately. When that plane is at altitude, he is literally at breakthrough. When you're cruising at altitude, it's the least amount of fuel. People are more comfortable. They take off their seat belts. They're, the store.
You're actually having dinner.
Yeah, you're having dinner.
It's crazy.
You're watching a movie, okay? It's a different level.
Well, that's listing inventory.
Exactly. And so the thing that you all have to accept is whenever you're starting anything new, it's great to be motivated by it. It's great to be in the formulation stage and say, I'm excited about this. But the hardest phase is yet to come, and that's the concentration phase, and that is the most important phase. But once you've broken through concentration, and for real estate, you've cleared the runway. You're actually approaching cruising altitude because of your efforts are now equaling your results finally. At that point, you have to consistently put down the throttle because if you don't, your successful plane is going to come crashing back down to earth, and nobody obviously wants that to happen. So it's very important when you're thinking about why is it that I've been successful at some things in my life and why have I not been successful at other things in my life, it's just because of where you put your mind. It's where you put your energies consistently every single day.
It's your follow-through, your stick-to-itiveness, as we call it.
All right, so listen, Julie and I, and again, you can get these notes off the blog, realestateinsidernews.com. We've written down, I think it was 15 points, and we're going to go through these relatively quick, and you can go back and, like I said, go to the blog, hop over to the blog, and you can read these notes yourself. Now, I've also included some links on the notes on the realestateinsidernews.com so you can download our 90-day massive action plan. If you have not figured it out yet, these last 3 months of the year are the most important months of all the year. I promise you, if you're working now, if you're staying in that concentration phase right now, which many of you are, you will have such a brilliant spring, you will not believe it.
You'll be in momentum.
You'll be one of the agents that we're interviewing on these Friday Superstar interviews, and you're going to be saying like, oh my God, Tim, I can't believe it. After 3 or 4 months went from no listings to 30 listings, and I went from, just basically making $100 a month, and last month I closed $80,000. That happens all the time when you just consistently work towards a specific goal.
Well, it's actually easier than not working towards it.
So, Julie, what is point number 1 of the Superstars Daily Minimum Standards?
Great. So, and again, you guys can find the notes for this at realestateinsidernews.com. New students, you're using 2 different websites, harrisrealestateuniversity.com for your classes and the blog for everything else, realestateinsidernews.com. So click on Superstar Interviews and you can find these notes. Superstars Daily Minimum Standards. Number 1, Harris Real Estate University Superstars have goals, and they can tell you what they are, in the 5 areas of life: family, financial, mental or spiritual, physical, and educational. Superstars don't just talk about these goals. They have them posted in their offices. They review the goals daily, and this is the reason that they are working. Okay, so let me give you an example. When I talk to you guys, and sometimes you'll come to the call and say, I need to do more. Okay, great. Who doesn't, right? So what does that mean? Well, I need more listings. All right, so how many more? Why do you need that number? You need to have the motivation. Why are you in real estate? It's not to go from deal to deal to deal. It's not just to survive. It's not just to pay your electric bill, hopefully, okay? You have goals. At least some of you used to have goals. Some of you have lost your way. This is where the concentration needs to be for you this weekend.
Well, Julie, let me jump in here. Okay, this is something that a lot of you are confused at, and again, I'm reading the notes in the webinar. I know you guys appreciate us being direct, so I'm going to take the gloves off a little bit more, right? Some of you are feeling liberal guilt. Uh-oh, God, I'm going to get crap for this
thing.
We're
getting political.
No, not political, just a fact. Some of you are feeling a little bit of unnecessary liberal guilt for wanting stuff.
Yeah.
You're feeling conspicuous by wanting to be a little conspicuous, okay? I am giving you permission to want stuff. I'm giving you permission to want whatever it is that your heart desires. And here's the thing, guys, and we're not going to go too far down this path, but at the end of the day, we need stuff. Stuff is fun to have. Stuff is fun to buy. Stuff is fun to use as a motivator for you. Here, I'll share with you guys something personal. My wife, Julie, is now motivated because she wants to buy a new piano. So she has this picture of this piano that she wants to buy. She's a musician, as some of you guys know, and she wants to upgrade her piano. So she has a picture of it, and she's using that as a motivator. Does she need a new piano? No, she does not, but it's something that she wants, and it's causing her to be more intensely focused. Now, Julie knows that she's manipulating herself by wanting that piano. She knows that she's creating her own carrot because it works for her. It is okay, it's natural, and it's normal for you to want stuff. We are spiritual beings in a materialistic world, and we need stuff. We need shoes, we need clothes, we need cars, we need homes. And you know what? Sometimes we need fancy clothes, we need fancy cars. And we
That's
need
okay.
That's okay. Embrace it. Don't scour at it. Don't avoid it. Be okay with it. Obviously, do it within means. Don't make yourself broke doing it, but be okay wanting stuff. Right now, every single one of you who aren't feeling motivated, if you were to say, set a goal, and it can be a small goal. It might be buying a new camera lens. It could be taking a day off. It could be paying off a credit card. Whatever the goal is, that's what it starts with. Now, I want to address something else that comes up all the time. This sort of myth of balance. Julie, what the heck is balance?
Well, I think balance is a myth. That's the thought that it's possible to have everything in your life in perfect harmony all at the same time. And I don't know about you, Tim, but I don't know anybody that's ever done that.
No, I haven't either. I mean,
no. It's
yeah.
okay. Now, here's the thing. It's okay to work on having better balance, but realistically, there's always going to be something out of balance, and that's okay. That is normal. You've got to let go of this, oh, gosh, if I had 10 listings, I would be so far out of balance, I probably wouldn't even see my family anymore.
Don't ever give yourself – so what happens is this: people are looking for this feeling of balance. And what happens is they use that as an excuse to let themselves down in other categories. Like if you ever see somebody who's in really great shape, right, somebody who's like that they're going to try out for a triathlon, or more importantly, they're competing for a Mr. and Mrs. Olympiad or whatever it is, you can pretty much be guaranteed that other aspects of their lives they're completely ignoring because they're 100% focusing on that goal. Right now, many of you need to 100% focus on the goal of building your business in this fourth quarter and going in. If you're listening to this in the future in a replay, you could be, it doesn't matter what quarter it is, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, that 90-day massive action plan will work no matter what time of year you're listening to this, no matter when you apply it. The point is that when you're going to be out of balance, if you're worried about rocking the boat with your family, just tell them, let them know. Say, listen, I'm going to be out of balance a little bit for the next 90 to 120 days because I'm really focusing on accomplishing this specific goal. It's okay to do that. It's normal and natural to do that. Just tell him. If, for example, I'm thinking of Joel McClintock. I don't know if he's listening today, but one of his goals was to compete in an Ironman. And he said on a coaching call, and I remember this and I totally respected it, he said, this is an important, and his wife respected it, Michelle. He said, this is a goal I'm trying to accomplish. I'm going to accomplish it, and that means that every single day I have to train for 4 to 5 hours a day. He said what he was going to do. He then stated the goal. Everyone then supported him to accomplish his goal. It's okay if you're going to be out of balance, but you just, so that you don't make any enemies or hurt any feelings, just let everyone know.
It's called having a plan. And what's curious about momentum is most people feel more, quote, in balance when they're in momentum, because that you are taking care of your financial needs. You know that you're getting some results for your efforts. It's a curious thing that happens there.
Charles from Arcata, I think California, said, this is a funny comment, Julie, I was in the bubble, and I'm wondering why I haven't succeeded like I did. You nailed it. I'm lazy. Thanks for the wake-up call. You're welcome.
Okay, so you are no longer lazy. Now you're doing something about it,
No,
Charles.
he's probably still lazy.
He's probably in his jammies right now.
That's exactly right.
Well,
all right, point number 2. Harris Real Estate University superstars have a schedule and take it seriously. Their schedule is based on dollar productive activity. In real estate, this means prospecting, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, closing, and then obviously lather, rinse, repeat. Now, prospecting. What does prospecting mean? It means lead generating. We're going to talk about spokes in the wheel here in a second. The bottom line is you have to be focusing on those 5 activities every single day and schedule everything else around it. You do the things that make you money first. I have graduate coaching calls sometimes, and the first question I ask, and my grad students know this by heart, is what is the best thing that happened in your business since our last call to make you money? Because I'm trying to set the tone for the call that it's about making money. And then they'll say things like, I worked on my postcards. Or,
I went on Caravan all week.
I went on Caravan. And you can hear that they know I'm going to light them up because of the fact they weren't doing dollar productive things. And guess what? The rest of that call is going to be about getting them refocused. It's about momentum. It's about the phases of momentum. It's about not losing the actions that it took for you to get there in the first place. That's the reason you have to go back and revisit those things. Point number 3, Julie.
Point number 3, Harris Real Estate University superstars, don't worry that doing the above, remember doing the above was all about dollar productive activity and following a schedule. They don't worry that that's sometimes boring. They don't start and stop what they're learning all the time. They know, and this is a big point, guys, they know that repetitious boredom pays off, but only when momentum is reached. So stopping and starting creates the stopping and starting of your income. Staying the course creates predictable, profitable outcomes.
So do the things, here's a Tim and Julie quote, you guys can write this down. Do the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them at the highest level consistently. And when you do, you'll have You'll be and experience the things in life that others won't because they're not willing to put in the same effort. Goes back to the phases of momentum. Goes back to the concentration phase. If you're willing to stay in that concentration phase until you accomplish momentum, you will have a life like you've never dreamed of before. So Charles and our other now admittingly lazy agents, that is the reason that you are not succeeding. It's because you thought you were good before. You are not that good. The market was just making it so you appeared to be good. You need to frankly, I think all of you know, but you need to go back, accept the fact that you need to work hard, you need to learn, you need to really concentrate, follow the 90-day massive action plan. We're not leaving anything to chance at Harris Real Estate University, guys. Julie and I spend ridiculous amounts of time focusing on how to help you guys, and it's not like we're just giving you part of the information. We're giving you motivation today, a direction to follow, and then we're saying go follow that 90-day massive action plan. We want all of you to succeed at the highest level. Next point, sweetie.
All right, and just before we get to that, Margie in Newhall says, this is exactly what I need right now. I'm crazy busy, and I feel like I'm burning out, but this is giving me a big bump in my motivation. So keep the motivation, keep the momentum, Margie. Sometimes when you're feeling burned out, you got to stop yourself and say, you know what, that's because I'm surrounding myself with so much opportunity. I'm so blessed that I even feel burned out. And then take a breath and figure out what it's going to take to keep you in momentum. And I'm going to offer you a free coaching call with me if you need help to get there.
Email Julie directly, Julie@harrisrealestateuniversity.com for a free coaching call.
Yes.
And Julie, here's the other thing. Margie, you are feeling burned out, hopefully, because you're doing a lot of the right things with intensity.
Exactly.
And you're starting to build momentum. You're feeling burned out for the same reason that if you started going to the gym today for the first month or so, if you're like me for the first year or so, your muscles are going to hurt after you work out. It's because you're creating new neural pathways. It's because you're building strength. You're building the ability to build, frankly, a big business faster. Do not quit just because you're feeling burned out. Do not quit just because you're feeling a little sore. Do not quit just because it's harder than you thought. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay, that's the reason.
That's momentum. That's how it is.
That's the reason that so few people are rich, because it's harder than you think. That's right.
Yes. Okay, so point number 4. Remember, we're talking daily minimum standards here. Harris Real Estate University superstars have a lead generation wheel. This is a big concept. This is one of the tenets of Harris Real Estate University, and this is something that you all have to really, really take to heart. So, Tim, spokes in the wheel. How do we get that into their head?
All right, now I want you to imagine an old-fashioned wagon wheel. So Julie and I are in our 40s, and so we grew up with Little House on the Prairie. And a lot of you guys are the same age as us, I think. And if you aren't, well, then tough, okay?
Too bad.
If you're younger than us, we don't want to hear from you. I'm just kidding. So imagine an old-fashioned wheel. Or if you're younger than us, imagine a set of dubs on a Range Rover, okay? You get the idea. Big, spokey wheels. I'm not trying to have some fun. Hopefully I'm not insulting anyone. If I am, well, then that's just the way it goes. So a wheel, a spoked wheel, a wagon wheel that has – why do those wheels have so many spokes? Why is that wheel with more spokes stronger than a wheel that has maybe 2 or 3 spokes? It's obvious, isn't it? Because it's stronger because it has more spokes. It's, basically
more reinforcement, more structural strength. It can handle more load.
Exactly. The more spokes you have, the better off you're going to be, because that way if one of the spokes fails, the other spokes will pick up the slack. Now I'm going to tell you a true coaching story, and I'm going to omit her name to protect the somewhat innocent.
Okay, so before you do that, just in your minds, guys, spokes equal streams of income.
Okay, so here's the story. I had a new graduate coaching client, and this gal sold like 250 to 300 houses a year. And she came to a coaching call with me and signed up as a graduate coaching student after she had recovered from what turned out to be basically a year's worth of not having a voice, more or less. What happened was the typical, she got laryngitis. Doctor told her not to talk. She talked anyway. She lost her voice. It got really bad. She literally couldn't even say a word. Unfortunately, I've experienced that myself because I didn't listen to the doctor as well. But you know how scary that can be. Literally, your voice just goes away, and you don't have a choice but to basically just sit back and wait for it to recover. Well, again, because she let it get so bad, she literally could not talk. Now, here's the sad part of this. She only had one real spoke, and that was picking up the phone every day and calling FSBOs and expireds and her centers of influence and past clients. She was an absolutely fantastic over-the-phone prospector, but without a voice, she couldn't call anybody. She was a one-spoke wonder. her voice went away, her spoke went away, her income went away, her business went away. So after she recovered, she came to us realizing that after having heard us talk at some event about spokes in the wheel, it made sense, as I'm sure a lot of you are saying, well, duh, it makes sense to have more spokes. That way, if one of the spokes fails, it's going to be, you're still going to be okay. Well, she was not taught that. She was taught that there's only one thing you do, Some of you are taught that you only work your centers of influence and past clients. Some of you are taught you only do over-the-phone prospecting, or you only do, direct mail.
It's making you dependent on one spoke,
which is insane.
And some of you subconsciously believe, it's kind of the silver bullet thing, the single spoke thing. Gosh, if I just sign up for this one lead generator online, that will solve all of my problems. If I could just get one really good spoke, I'll be fine. And you know what? Everybody in the world knows that you believe that. That's why you have so much junk email trying to sell you that special one spoke that's going to save the day.
Well, and Julie and I, when you look at Harris Real Estate University, our strongest students, they have multiple spokes. And when you hear us interview one of our superstars, they're going to tell you the fact that they work with REOs, they do BPOs, they work their centers of influence and past clients. They have a direct mail campaign to a geographic farm. They obviously work with short sales. They might do some radio and TV. The best realtors in the nation, guys, in this type of market have multiple spokes. Now, here's something interesting that's happened in the past 12 months. Nobody in the real estate industry is this deep into the distressed end of things, into short sales and REOs. But it hasn't always been that way with Julie and I. A lot of you know that Julie and I used to coach realtors in a normal market how to build business through more traditional means. When the market shifted, we shifted as well. The point is that in the past 12 months, we have seen the beginning of, this past year went to favoring REOs. Then the banks were starting to have all kinds of legal issues with this robo that and scandal that. And so then they started favoring getting short sales approved, and the REO agents' businesses dropped off. Well, the agents that we had that were only focused on REOs and BPOs, what happened? Their businesses slowed down, but fortunately now they're starting to pick up again. So, guys, there's an ebb and flow to life. There's an ebb and flow to nature. There's seasons that everything goes through, and that's just a natural part of being on this planet. I, again, don't want to go down that path, but I want you to accept the fact that you have to be able to be versatile. Don't dig your heels in and say, I am only an over-the-phone prospector, because if you are, and that's your mindset, you will go broke.
Oh, I don't work with buyers.
Oh, boy.
Buyers are a spoke, guys. Come on.
Okay,
without buyers, none of your listings would sell. Hello?
The moral of the story, guys, is the more spokes you have, the stronger your business. Now, here's the key with spokes. Here's a little secret. You do not create a new spoke until the other spoke, the spoke you've been working on, is consistently producing results. Otherwise, you're going back. Remember the 4 phases of momentum? Every spoke is going to basically follow the same path of momentum. Every spoke, everything that you do, every new thing that you apply to your business is going to still require the different phases of momentum, the concentration and the momentum and the breakthrough.
And it doesn't, building your spokes is not an afternoon project. If you're, to go back to our asset manager conversation, if you are calling them, okay, you are working that spoke, but until you're getting results, polish the spoke. What are you saying? How are you saying it? How consistently are you calling? What time of day are you tracking it? What are you asking for when you call? Are you building a relationship? These are all questions about each spoke. I use another example. Lance and Karen Kenmore, some of our graduate students, they do a little radio program. It's not just showing up for the program. They have a script they're following. They have things written out that are calls to action. It's not just about being there and doing a public service announcement. Their goal is to have people actually call them as a result. So we're constantly polishing that particular spoke for them. Now, not all of you will have identical spokes. Some of you are fantastic with your past clients already. It's your main spoke. You've worked on it for years. You've polished it. You're getting lots of predictable results. So for you, that may be your strongest spoke in that wagon wheel. So move on to the next spoke. Now, here's the other thing.
Don't stop doing the spoke that works.
Don't stop the one that works, right?
Right.
So 2 rules with spoke building. Number 1, don't move on to the next one until you have polished the spoke you're working on. And number 2, once you move on, don't abandon the old spoke. And I see this with REO agents all the time. When was the last time they called their past clients, right?
Exactly.
So some of you guys are guilty as charged. Hopefully you guys get the concept. Now, if you were in that same wagon wheel and you only had that one spoke working for you and you hit a rock in the road, the wagon is wrecking, right? So for some of you, that rock in the road was when the market changed on you. And because you were working a spoke, maybe 2 spokes, your wagon, wrecked. So now you're rebuilding your spokes. That's okay. That's normal. That's what we're here for.
Point number 5, Harris Real Estate University superstars are relentless with lead follow-up. They can tell you their top 5 prospects off the top of their heads.
In the middle of the night, on the spot.
What is motivating these buyers or sellers, and when the next appointment is. They track their leads on a spreadsheet or wipe-off board. So, guys, I'm going to give you right now a Harris Real Estate University lead follow-up rule. Now, some of you say, well, there's a lot of analytical mumbo-jumbo about there. What quantifies a lead? What is a lead? How many times you should call a lead? Blah, blah, blah. Here's the bottom line. If you get a have-to-sell seller, and that's a seller who absolutely positively has to sell. In other words, when you ask them, Mr. Seller, do you have to sell this house or do you want to sell the house? They said they have to sell the house. The have-tos would be relocation, a financial issue, a legal issue, something that's forcing them to sell. Want-to-sells are to be avoided. Tell those guys that they shouldn't be putting their houses for sale now. It's not a good time. The want-to-sells are the ones that will say, like, if I can get my price, or, those guys will never sell in this market because they're never going to get their price because the prices are sliding the opposite direction in which they're hoping. So the bottom line when it comes to people like that are have-tos versus want-tos, only work with the have-tos. Here's your lead follow-up rule. When you have a absolutely must-sell, positively must-sell seller, you follow up with that seller until one of 2 things happens. Write this down, okay? When you have an absolutely positively, have to sell, must sell, house has to go seller, one of 2 things happens. Number 1, they list with you or somebody else, or they file a restraining order against you. Now, I'm obviously joking about the second thing,
sort of.
But the point is that you are going to be so focused and so intense on that lead follow-up that they are going to be unquestionably wanting to list with you. A lot of you think, well, I'm only going to call them once and leave them a message. And
I don't want to bug them.
I don't want to be rude. Or here's my favorite one. I don't want to seem pushy. What are you talking about? They want pushy. They know they're selling their house in the worst market in the history of the United States. You don't think they want a pushy realtor? They want a pushy realtor. They want you to be aggressive.
They're begging for a pushy realtor,
right.
Please.
All you guys who think that, well, that's not my style. Okay, well, how's your style working out for you? They want in this marketplace, if you were a seller right now and you had a house to sell and had to sell, you absolutely positively had to sell this property, okay, you had no choice, you're motivated. Would you want someone who is aggressive and quote-unquote pushy, or would you want somebody who is nice and
they'll get to you when they feel like
They'll get to it, yeah. Well, I don't want to call sometimes. They want pushy. They want the person that's going to get the job done, okay? That's what you would want.
They will tell you to back off, okay? They'll say, I'm not quite ready yet. That's okay.
Point number 6, Julie.
Okay, before we get to that, Joel and Michelle McClintock were listening and sent in this great quote. Every day in their office they have a quote competition, which I love.
Oh, yeah.
And this is from Michelle. Quote, things come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. That was by Abraham Lincoln. And you know what? Michelle's one of those agents that's hustling all the time. So, again, things do come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. And, it's funny about that, Tim, is, some agents are saying, why is the quality of my listing inventory not great? Because you're picking up other agents' crumbs from having lack of urgency, lack of lead follow-up, and all the rest.
Your leads, guys, are absolutely positively worthless. They're the same exact leads that everybody else has. If you want a big stack of worthless leads, just go to the white pages. Those of you who don't know what the white pages are, just go to go to that fancy widget called Google and basically just look for random names. That's the value of a lead. A lead is nothing until you've pre-qualified them. And when you've determined their motivation and you have to be aggressive with it, then if they have to sell, especially on the sell side, you absolutely positively must work with them. Get that clear in your head. Yeah. Change your mindset. Oh, and here's the cool thing. Very few other realtors are going to be this aggressive. There's another word that's offending some of you, aggressive salesperson. Very few other realtors are going to be aggressive. And as a result of that, they're not going to have the business you're going to have. They're not going to have the opportunities that you have. Julie, what's the next point?
Exactly. I'm just making sure that we are not running out of time. Okay, I'm back. All right, good. So point number 6, superstars use scripts and systems consistently. Virtually every aspect of their workday is designed around accomplishing their goals. Remember, point number 1 was that they have definable goals that are posted, Anyone who is successful is so because they do the same thing over and over and over, and those things they're doing are based on what their goals are. So some of you have said, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. Well, honestly, does your schedule reflect that? Do your scripts reflect that that's what you want? Do you actually think before you call leads back what you're going to say to them? Or are you just saying, hey, it's Julie Harris, the ABC Realty, just seeing how you're doing? Or are you calling saying, you know what, that house you're looking for, I found exactly what you're looking for. I can't wait to show it to you this evening at 6 o'clock. Call me back to confirm.
Why is it that some of you know that what we're telling you is the truth? Why is it that so many of you are listening to what we're saying and you know in your core that we're telling you what you should be doing, but you still don't do it? Why is it that you're resisting? Why is it that you're only doing, let's be honest, a half-hearted attempt at some of the things we're talking about? Why is it that you sign up for a coaching program and you just basically skim and you do what you perceive to, basically is the least amount of effort, and then you're thinking you should get the results? Why is it that you're being lazy?
Or you'd think downloading and printing stuff out is just going to get you listings, really?
Seriously, why is it that you're railroading yourself? Why is it that you're not allowing yourself to be successful? Why is it that you're keeping yourself down?
Send us the answer, please. We want to know. We don't understand.
But here's a little secret. You won't find an answer because you don't realize you're doing it, but you are. You know how I know you are? If you're not having, doing, experiencing the dreams of your life. If you're not happy, if you're not in balance, as much as you can be in terms of your finances, if you don't have money in the bank, if you're not going on vacations, if you're not doing the things in your life that you've set yourself to do, your dreams of accomplishing, you are not essentially giving yourself an opportunity, going back to the phases of momentum. You're not staying in concentration. You're not willing to put in the work. Why? Why is that you've made the decision to basically fail? It doesn't make any sense to me. I promise you, the difference between you and, say, Joel and Michelle McClintock, who are true superstars in this nation right now, why is it that you have just simply not made the decision? Heck, Joel and Michelle, they'll tell you how they did it. They're on our superstar. They've been superstar interviewed before. They're on our short sale training calls. Michelle teaches in the short sale class. She's not holding anything back. She's not just giving you, I'm only going to give them a little bit of the information. She's telling you step by step exactly what she's doing, how is she doing, and how is she doing it. Why aren't you doing it? It's because your ego is telling you, I want to figure out my own way to do it. It's like going back to the wheel analogy. You decide that you're going to go out and make wheels. You're going to start a wheel-making company, but, oh, God, everyone else has done a round wheel. I'm going to try an octagon. Right?
Because my wheel will be better.
Right. Your ego is saying, I can't copy. You have to copy.
Everyone else has, guys.
Success is about taking an existing idea and implementing it and occasionally making it better.
Well, so point number 7 speaks exactly to that point, Tim. The superstars never wing it. They know that a smart man or woman learns from his or her mistakes. A brilliant one learns from the mistakes of others. Don't reinvent the wheel, guys. You don't have to overthink this. Just do what the superstars have done. That's what they did, by the way. Follow the path in front of you. Don't stop. Don't stop and start over. Don't slow down. Be the pilot with their, the throttle down. Keep it going, okay? You don't have to overthink things. You don't have to game the system. I see this with REO students. Well, I've never heard of a SunTrust loan in my area, so I'm not going to call SunTrust. Seriously? You don't have to overthink it. Sign up with everybody we give you. That way you have more opportunity. Come on, don't overthink it.
Here's a question for you. What is the product of your business? Fellow realtors, though Julie and I aren't realtors anymore, but fellow realtors, what is the product of your business? Seriously.
It's a big question.
What is it that you produce? I ask people this all the time, and I have never gotten the correct answer. Okay, that's the truth, but I'm going to tell you the correct answer. Okay, what is your product of your business? Some will say, write it down, put it in the webinar. You know what? There it is. I want you guys who are on the webinar, pay attention, answer the question in the webinar. I want you to tell me what the product of your business is. Go ahead. Some of you, I'm waiting, type it in. I can see when you're doing something or not.
We have Agent Cam turned on.
No, that's a joke. Don't say that, Julie. We had several people actually take that seriously before.
Sorry, just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it? What is your product, guys? Is your product what? What do you think it is? Tell me what your product is. Put it in the webinar, and maybe I'll read your names, and maybe I won't. I probably will because I'll make fun of you if you put in the wrong answer. So what is your product? Okay, Doug says his product is selling houses. All right, here's another comment. Mary says her product is happy clients. Okay, Julie, you want to read some others? There's Luis there says.
You keep going.
Okay.
It's acting funny.
All right, good. So there's some other people that are putting in various degrees of the same thing. They're perceiving that their product is basically a real estate transaction. Here's someone that says bank approvals on short sales. Well, that's a good product, isn't it? Guys, here's the bottom line. All right, Martha says from Cerritos her product is service. Okay, here's some people that basically put their comments in, and they don't
their names.
Without their names.
That.
You guys are smart. You guys know me. Sorry, that's funny. All right. Helping people reach their goals is a comment without a name. Knowledge is a comment without a name. That's fine. Okay, so other people are putting in varying degrees. You guys are all wrong. Okay? You're all wrong. Now, you're not 100% wrong, but your product is profit. Your job of your business, and write this down, do not have any sort of moral, ethical, or, political, or any other kind of confusion with this. Your product is profit. That is it. At the end of the day, if you're not producing profit, you do not have a business. Your business is valued, quantified, and judged, and frankly, essentially it's successful or not based on your profit. Okay, so here, think about this. I want you to tell me the names of 5 realtors that you know who have retired on passive income. Should I have some Jeopardy music? Do, 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 do. No, that you know, not that you heard of. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You don't know any, do you? Okay, here's the reason why. It's because they thought their product was selling houses. They thought their product was awards. They thought their product was recognition. They thought their product was having their name up in lights or having a billboard, or they thought their product was something else other than profit. Agents, you are realtors. This is true. That makes you a salesperson, not a home counselor, not anything else. You're a salesperson. And God bless you. There's nothing wrong with that. All of us are salespeople. Anybody successful that's ever made money, from a doctor, surgeon to the President of the United States, we're all in sales, okay? But your product is the profit that you make as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. You are an entrepreneur, a business owner that happens to sell real estate.
Some of you guys are weird about that.
A lot of you, I come from the lower middle class.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with money. I had to work out all these issues about becoming wealthy as we have.
Nobody tells you this when you get your real estate license.
You don't. And
it's okay if this is a light bulb for you.
Yeah, it's fun if it's a light bulb for you. Okay, a whole bunch of other comments came in. My product is to give my ultimate customer service to serve them, okay? Well, then join the Peace Corps, Mary. Mary, I love you. I'm just making fun of you to open up your eyes. Someone from Georgia says, my product is information service to help clients sell their homes, blah, 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 blah. So basically, Georgia, from someone from Georgia, your product is what Google does, okay? They're the ones that are supposed to be producing information and service. And Benna says, from Diamond Bar, my product is me. No, it's not. Your product is profit. Larry says, my product is marketing myself. Larry, your product is profit. Margie says relationships. No, Margie, your product is profit.
All of these things are related to you having profit. Yes, all of these things are required. Yes, you have to give great service. Yes, you've got to market yourself. You've got to put yourself out there. Yes, you have to help people and provide a high level of service. But your product, what your business is supposed to produce, is income for you.
Okay, so let me bring this home for all of you guys. Julie and I do a lot of stuff for you for free. Right now, we've talked to you for an hour for free. We've given you information that I know is motivating a lot of you and helping a lot of you for free. We do sales events, where we tell them about our class, or we do for free. We go to agents' offices and we do for free. Now, do we do all that because we're being altruistic and because our product is to serve and da-da-da-da-da? No, because I know ultimately the more people I help personally, and Julie, and all of our coaches at the highest level, the more profit we make. So everything you guys are saying is true. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not telling you guys to be, totally focused on money and just be greedy bastards. I'm not suggesting that. What I am saying is all those things are true, but the way you quantify is through profit. Get clear in your head. Are you making a profit? And here's the reason why we're not going to be able to go through all of our points, because I want you to be one of the rare realtors that actually has financial security. So I'm going to kind of wrap this call up. You guys need to go and listen to or read all the other notes on the site. We only got through half of them. But here's a thought for you, okay? And I want you to take this seriously. Actually, this is another question. I'm going to put this question into the webinar. I want you guys to answer the question in the webinar. And there is no right or wrong, but it's just kind of interesting how people answer. Why is it that you decided to be in business for yourself? What was your reasoning for wanting to do this business? What is your reasoning for many of you staying in this business? Explain to me why you are a business owner. Please, in the webinar, I want you to tell me right now why you're a business owner. What is it your specific goal is for owning your own business, going through trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, all the things that go along with being, quote unquote, self-employed, right? Why is it that you're a business owner? Go ahead and put your comments in. I like some of the other comments I got in from the last point about profit. That's good. So, guys, seriously, why is it that you're in business for yourself? Why is it that you decided? Go ahead and put your comments in the webinar. Please, do put them in. I'm serious. I need your comments. Why is it that you've decided, and let's just be honest, the worst real estate market in history, worse than the Great Depression, you decided to be in real estate? Why is it that you decided, some of you are going to say, if you're being honest, because you couldn't get a job, and I appreciate that. That's the truth. Some of you are going to say, well, it's because I don't know anything else, and I've been doing this industry basically my whole life, kind of like Julie and I, and that's the truth. But the question is what specifically, why is it that you're in business? We determined that your product is profit, so why is it that you're in business? What is it, more than anything else, why is it that you're doing it? Okay, put in your comments. It's very interesting when I ask this question. Now, this is a question that if I'm in front of 100 people, okay, this is good. All right, so Alex, I like your comment. In biz because I want to help people and set my own destiny. That's good. That's actually, I think, a great answer. Sherry, I'm going to read your comment last because you got it, I think. Doug, you actually got it too. I love it how you guys actually. All right, Larry says, I'm sick of the requirement to kiss the boss's ass, though he didn't say ass, and have my future up to that person. So in other words, someone controlling his destiny. Not having to answer to anyone else myself, and that, basically that's a comment without a name. Unlimited profit potential, Charles, that's a good one. To create balance between work and family, and that's Georgia, she's from California. Thank you, dear, for telling me. Okay, there's more comments coming in. I'm going to try to read more of them. Okay, a lot more. I went into business for myself to make money and be accountable to myself and not anyone else. How's that working out, Sandy? Tom, because I am a high I in the DISC personality test. Tom, I'm not really sure if you're answering the question, but I understand what you're saying. Margie says to make money and because I'm good at it. Carnell says to dictate my own time. You guys are all, even, Tom with his personality test answer, you guys are all kind of saying the same thing, but I'm going to help you hopefully clarify it. Jane says, I want to determine, Jane from Michigan. Hey, Jane, we're from Ohio. I think we're technically not supposed to like you, but we'll forget that for the sake of this call.
Jane and I have made peace about that.
Okay. I determined, that's an insight, that's a Midwestern joke. For the rest of you who don't get it, well then, there you go. Jane says, determine how much I want to make. Brenna Bina from, okay, we read her comment. I'm going to click it one more time, see if there's any more. Jill says, I feel the banks are, no, we won't do that one. Dawn says, opportunity for greater financial reward and freedom, personal freedom and working with someone else. Robert says, so I can position myself to earn unlimited income, position myself to invest in real estate for my family. I think Robert is hitting it too, and create a team for a long term, be my own boss. Lots of you guys who are basically accepting the fact that one of the reasons you got in the business is to be your own boss. I'm going to address that, and then I'm going to answer the question. The idea of being your own boss is a myth, okay? Julie and I own a multi-million-dollar a year business, and we are not our own boss. It is a myth. No one is their own boss. If you're the CEO of a publicly traded company, your shareholders are your bosses. If you're working for banks and you're an asset, you're listing their assets, the asset managers are your bosses. I'm working for the thousands of you who are Harris Real Estate University students, and to a large extent, you're my boss. So get over the fact that you don't have a boss because you do have a boss. And then the boss is basically your clients, the people that you're serving. It's a myth to think that basically, you can be successful basically being your own boss. If you look and study the top producers of any industry, they don't think like that. They think in terms of discipline, a schedule, something that's designed to basically hold them accountable. The lack of accountability or the lack of a boss, frankly, is the reason that many of you aren't succeeding at the levels that you can. Oh, by the way, that's why a lot of people hire us to be their coaches.
So they can have a boss again.
That's right. And you know what? You get more results when someone's holding you accountable from week to week. So here's the thing. And I think a lot of you intuitively, naturally, Julie, extend the call, naturally understand the question. Why is it you got into business yourselves? And here's the answer. And again, I think a lot of you understood this. Freedom. That's why. Freedom. freedom from, some crazy boss, as a lot of you said, someone who's a jerk, basically. Freedom from having to worry about what? Finances. Freedom from having to worry about somebody, limiting your capacity for earning, your capacity, period. But here's the only way you quantify that is through profit. Okay? Here, remember my question? How many people do you know that have actually retired from real estate? It's because you don't probably know anybody, because lots of people didn't understand their product was profit. When you get clear in your head that your product is profit, not just cash flow, okay, it's profit, then what happens is you can create freedom. Are all these coming together now? Does all this start to make sense? In the boom, and actually going all the way back to the 90s when Julie and I sold real estate, if you'd been in front of a group of people, as we were, and you'd ask the same question, they would give an answer that was something like this: I want to have a business that creates passive income for myself, and I want to delegate everything to a team, okay? That model and that idea does not mean they're making any profit. They're just basically making cash flow. They don't necessarily have any assets. Every one of you should have the simple financial goal of being debt-free. Oh, it sounds simple, but it takes a lot of work. It just takes a plan. It takes discipline. It takes the different phases of momentum. It's like everything else, being debt-free and then producing assets that produce cash flow for you. What do I mean? And this is, again, something we work on with all of our graduate coaching students. And if you're interested in learning about graduate coaching, just email Julie directly, julie@harrisrealestateuniversity.com. When you have a goal and you're really clear in your mind that your business's product is profit, you then use that profit to first pay off all of your debts. Once your debts are paid off, then you use that profit to acquire assets that produce income. And you guys know what my favorite one is, and hopefully it's your favorite one as well, paid off rental properties. There never has been a better time. Now, I sound like the National Association of Realtors, but they're saying it because it's true. There never has been a better time to buy properties in certain price ranges. Again, we're not going to talk a lot about this, but all of you, every single one of you, if you're understanding even half of what we talked about today, and you only apply half of what you learned from our classes, should be producing more than enough profit for you to set yourselves up to have lives of freedom. The greatest wealth in the history of the United States, read Malcolm Gladwell's book called Outliners. The greatest wealth in the United States was created during the greatest times of turbulence and change. There is no exception to this. Whenever there's great, times of uncertainty, people who are paying attention, focused, and have a plan create generational wealth. I'm talking Rockefellers. I'm talking Bill Gates. I'm talking the kind of money that you, frankly, might not even be able to conceive of now, because they realize, they're contrarians. They realize that everyone else is running for the cave, ducking and covering, that this is the opportunity for them to stand up and be bold. And that's what all of you have to be doing now. Standing up, being bold, deciding once and for all, and many of you deciding again, that you can have, be, and experience anything you want in life. You don't have to suffer anymore. You don't have to be like all the other realtors and accept the fact that, you have diminished expectations. That is a bunch of crap, and I have no idea why you'd even have that thought. It is a choice. Decide that you're going to make this your career. Decide you're going to make the next 2, 3, 4 years, the time where you're going to make it so that when I ask you the question or someone else asks you the question, who do you know that retired from real estate, or who do you know that can retire from real estate because they have enough passive income coming in, you're going to raise your hand in your notes. You're going to say, you know what? I accomplished that goal. I am free. That is ultimately the goal of any business owner, to be free.
So some of you guys are perpetually in this rebuilding, the market kicked my butt, no, I have to have diminished expectations. Those days are over. That is not acceptable at Harris Real Estate University on any level. You guys are all talented. You're smart. You're getting lots of great coaching and training. You have tons of support from us. All you guys that take advantage of what we offer you know that when you go to the live chat or you email us directly or you ask a question in a class, we are right there for you. That you have no excuse to have anything even remotely sounding like giving up with diminished expectations. Oh, well, I guess I'm just going to have to expect less. We don't expect less of you. Why do you expect less of yourself? Some of you. Others of you are having your best year ever because you've embraced many of the points that we went over today. So the next thing, Tim, what should these guys be doing for homework? We've really kind of stuffed their brains full with a lot of ideas today.
Well, Julie, if you look at the webinar, there's a lot of great comments, and you can read those comments, and why don't you do that to wrap the call. But here's your homework, basically. If you are, and I'm going to tell you right now that if I get, 50 emails all asking for information on our graduate coaching program, I promise you we'll only accept 5 of you into the graduate coaching program. So if you're interested in being a graduate coaching student and working with Julie or myself, you're going to have to accept the fact that you will have a boss, there is going to be a new sheriff in town, and you will have your butt kicked, and you will get results. All right. If you are ready for that, email Julie directly, julie@harrisrealestateuniversity.com, and do not have your feelings hurt if after we talk with you we decide that you're not ready for it, okay? Let's just be honest about that. We're not going to accept very many people. We're only going to accept the people that we know who are ready for momentum, okay? That is the bottom line. That's for the graduate coaching program. Number 2, here's your other homework assignment. If you have not yet done so, if you're being lazy, I want you to go to the blog, if you're not on there already, and download the 90-day massive action plan. Now, do not just complete it, the questions that you understand. I want you to do the work on the plan. Have a plan. If you find yourself filling out the 90-day massive action plan and you find yourself skipping a question, that's you being lazy. Okay, that's you deciding, well, this isn't important to me or this doesn't apply to me. I don't need to do this. I am better than that. I know this. I'm a natural salesperson. I'm a top producer. Okay, why aren't you rich? Why aren't you free? Why isn't your business producing enough for the product we call profit? Because you're skipping steps.
That business plan, guys, is formulation. The next thing after you've actually done it is post it and do the concentration part, which is what's required. It forces you to create a dollar productive schedule, for example. That gets you into concentration. You must post that. We recommend in the plan that you share that with other people who will help hold you accountable, and then you get to work in concentration. Without concentration, you won't have momentum, so don't skip steps.
This is your market, guys. This is the opportunity. Some of you, I have a friend who's in Florida, and I know he's not listening, so I don't have any problem talking about him. I won't say his name, though. He's in an unrelated business. And he always says this. He always says it's about being in the right place at the right time. He says things like, well, timing is everything. Those are his 2 favorite things. And what he's basically saying by saying those things, and I always call him out about it, is he's basically saying that's my excuse for not succeeding at the level that I think I could because I haven't been in the right place at the right time. Because, the market is this way and the timing is that way. That's a bunch of crap, okay? The fact is, guys, that it is all about you taking action in any market. Some of you, this baffles me, some of you miss the past market. Let's go back and review. In the past market, you weren't really chosen to list a house based on anything other than how big of a number you're willing to put on the listing contract and how small of a number you're willing to put on the contract for commissions. Everybody and their brother and their dog's brother had and will be and was getting a real estate license. But everyone was in real estate. You had competition everywhere. It was annoying. And now you have an opportunity to set yourself apart. Not just saying, I'm a short sale expert. How's that working out, by the way? You can actually know how to solve the short sale problems. You know actually how to solve a lot of people's problems at the highest level by helping them out with the short sale. And when you do it, your business produces the product we call profit consistently. You have an opportunity now because the REOs unquestionably, read the blog, realestateinsidernews.com, are going to be hitting the markets hard, late winter, early spring, into the summer. The REOs are coming now. What are you doing about it? Are you participating in REOs, or are you just saying, well, I'm going to only be a one-spoke wonder? Think out of the box. Challenge yourself. Value your business not based on anything other than profit. That's it. And the profit only comes, for those of you who are still confused about this, the profit only comes when you're helping people at the highest level. If you're not helping people, you're not making profit. Profit comes from helping people. There it is. That's how you put the 2 together. Julie, what are some of the comments?
All right. Lots of thank you for the reality check. Thank you very much. Let's see. This has been the best coaching call I could ask for. I appreciate that. And you guys determine how good a coaching call it was by what you do with it. Carnell in Delaware, yes, I see. Good stuff. Big smiley face there. Let's see.
Robert in Clovis, read that one.
Yes, Robert, one of our great students over in Clovis. To be my own boss. Thanks, Tim. I feel like a dummy. I agree. My bosses are my clients, my asset managers. So profit comes from keeping your bosses happy in your case, Robert. Let's see. Lots of ahas and light bulb moments about the profit discussion. lots of thank yous. So we seriously appreciate you guys appreciating it. It tells us that you get it. Now you've got to go show that you get it. And the first step, there's two different ways to do this. Some of you have already downloaded the business plan from the blog, which is realestateinsidernews.com. Big red bar at the top to find that plan. Some of you have downloaded it but done nothing with it. Your homework would be to actually complete it. Some of you have completed it but haven't gotten into concentration using it yet. Take a step today and keep taking that step every day forward. Don't be overwhelmed by all the things that we talked about. Just put one foot in front of the other. Bite-sized pieces.
Guys, don't be part of the 99%. Be part of the 1%. It's better.
More fun.
It's better.
It is better. Come to terms with that. It's okay, guys. And you know what? We are your biggest fans. You are not doing this alone. Who else cares about your business? We care about it. You care about it. Show how much, okay? You guys can do, be, and have whatever you want, but it's up to you to take the next steps. So that's your homework. We've created that plan for you. It's free. It's at the blog, realestateinsidernews.com. Now, for brand new students, this has not been your short sale call. Your short sale call is on Thursday.
If you say the word assistant, what you're about to say, you owe everyone $1,000.
Our client care specialist extraordinaire will take good care of you. They've been emailing you. We're going to ramp you up very quickly. So your first official short sale class, for those of you who just signed up for that, is on Thursdays. Pay attention to your email. Open everything that comes from Harris Real Estate University from anyone's email address. We're here to take good care of you, but you've got to open your emails and show up to those ramp-up calls that we have for you. If you have any questions about anything from today's call or anything you're learning in your classes, all you have to do is use the live chat button at either harrisrealestateuniversity.com or on the blog, realestateinsidernews.com. You can email me directly, julie@harrisrealestateuniversity.com. And really, you have no excuse but to move forward from this day forth. Start with our point number 1 today and ask yourself, what are your true goals? If you're not sure what to do next, business plan, and what are your goals?
Where are you on that plane? You're the pilot. Many of you are still loading the plane. That's fine. Acknowledge where you are. Some of you are on the runway ready to throttle down. Others of you have been throttling down and pulling back, throttling down and pulling back. Get your butts together. Get your thoughts in gear and motion. Do not slow down until you've reached momentum. Even then, don't slow down. This is the best time of year to be doing it. You have the least amount of competition. The owners that are most motivated this time of year because their houses didn't sell. Focus on the must-sell, have-to-sell, absolutely, positively, ready to roll sellers. I promise you that if you follow just half of the things that we talked about on today's live call, that you're going to have such a brilliant next 12 months that you will be one of our superstars. It all starts with you making the decision to do it and saying to yourself, in whatever varying degree of what I'm about to say, damn it, I am tired of putting up with putting up. I am going to start doing everything that I know is necessary to accomplish my goal. I'm going to make a plan, the 90-day massive action plan, and I'm going to follow it. It might be hard at first because everything new is difficult, but once I understand, I accept the fact that I'm willing to work through that phase and it's going to become easier, and nothing, no one, no how is going to get in the way of me accomplishing my goal. You have got to re-engage that spark. Stop waiting for the politicians to do it because they're not going to. Stop waiting for some news conference from the president. It ain't going to happen. Stop waiting for some save housing program. Nothing's going to happen. It's up to you as an individual to turn your own situation around. Those of you who are having your best years ever, and I know that's a lot of you, do not stop. Do not make 12 months, this past 12 months, your best 12 months ever. Make it so it's a starting point for the next year, which is going to be better. And the year after that, remember, quantify your business around net profit. That's what matters most. Be one of the winners on this, guys. You can do it. If you need us for anything, Tim at harrisrealestateuniversity.com or Julie at harrisrealestateuniversity.com. Have a fantastic weekend, and thank you for joining us for this week's Superstar interview.